I'm Jerry Kerby. I go by Jive as a call sign, Kerby. Make sure you spell it right.
Yeah, it's Kerby. I'm a big fan of you, Jive.
I can't tell.
Yeah. So, yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Phil Chan. I know we met briefly yesterday. I saw you heading into the hotel in your black flight suits, and I saw some patches. So I went. I met your wife, Luna. Incredible. I can tell she's the running the
He
operations.
does.
Yeah, she's the boss. Seems like she's pretty busy all the time. But yeah, I've actually heard of you. And I looked you up and read your bio. It's super impressive. You did 23 years United States Air Force. I did 13 years as well. We're from different communities. I come from Reaper. You, of course, are from the manned fighter world. A little bit different, but a big fan of your work. I looked you up. You have, I believe, at the time it was like 18,000 hours. I believe you had the most F-15 hours out of all Air Force pilots.
Not the most. I'm in probably the top 10, 15. I don't know, something like that.
Percent or 10 people?
No, 10 people.
Yeah.
Of F-15Cs. Now, look, you can't even say F-15s. It's like the E model is the predominant airplane, right? And it gets the most of the press these days with the operation that's going on. The C model is almost completely out of the inventory. Only, I think, one, maybe two guard units still have it. So it's sadly, going by the wayside. But the F-15E is still going strong. And I believe there was a guy went over 5,000 hours in an F-15E just recently.
Really?
Those guys work hard. And that airplane has stayed alive and stayed strong based on, the great professionals and the maintenance and logistics to keep it going. And it does great work. I mean, my company, Draken International, one of our contracts is to provide adversary support for the F-15E community. And our company does a great job of increasing their student production, right, by being an adversary. So they don't have to take airplanes out of their own inventory to go be adversaries. So we do it as a company. And we probably double their student production because of that.
For our listeners who don't know what it means to be an adversary for an Air Force exercise, could you explain what that is?
Yeah. So, in the fighter world, you have to have somebody, and especially the air-to-air world, which is what our specialty is, you have to have somebody to train again, right? You have to have another airplane with another pilot in the air. I mean, there's simulation augmentation that you can do with that will obviously help. But nothing beats having, the hard iron in the air with the pilot that's going against you, thinking and acting like an adversary, and that's what we do. We present a threat representative piece of iron out there that can shoot back, and our job is not to beat you. Our job is to capitalize on the mistakes that if you make them, there is a consequence for that.
Absolutely.
And syllabus support is one of the things that we do. We do it very, very well at our company that we started. We started back in 2012, Draken International.
Seems like you've been really forward leaning into aviation your whole career. I know you have a fighter's weapons patch, which means a lot. I also went a little bit back in your bio. I was curious what got you started into flying, and I read, correct me if I'm wrong, took your first flight at 15. You got your private license at 16, right?
Well, I took my first flight instruction at 15. You can solo on your 16th birthday. That's the earliest you can solo, and the earliest you can get your private pilot's license is 17. And I soloed on my 16th birthday and got my pilot's license on my 17th birthday, my private license, right? I didn't make my 18th birthday for my commercial license, but on my 23rd birthday, which is the earliest you can get your airline transport pilot's license, I went and did that.
Did you always know that you were destined for the skies, or was this a family business? Was there people in your family were in the military? Or
Nobody in my family flew. My father was in the Navy in the 50s.
Not a fly boy?
Not a fly guy. Nope. He was a gunner's mate, and he's the guy that put the gunpowder behind the projectile that they shot off, a big destroyer.
I like that.
He was awesome. He still has some great stories about that. But nobody in my family was military. Immediate family was military before me, and nobody flew. It was just something. I think I go back to, I was 10 years old, and Lancaster, Missouri had a yearly get together called the Old Settlers Reunion. And I remember this guy had his Cessna 172 at the local airport, and he was giving rides for 1 penny per pound.
Well, yeah, he just loves it,
And
wants
it
to
cost
share
me
it.
75 cents to go on this flight. And I remember going on this flight, it was only like 15 minutes. And I'm looking down at, uh, the cars on the road. And I remember I made the comment, they look like little ants, going through. And I think that's probably the genesis of when I wanted to become, do that. I didn't know what an aviator was. I certainly didn't know anything about military flying, but I go, that's pretty cool. I think I'll do that. And I did it. So you talk a lot about, the things that drive you in life. I'm not sure there was any one thing that drove me in life other than just a quest for more. I didn't have this lofty goal I was going after immediately. I just wanted to, I wanted to go for it. I wanted to do it. And I didn't come from a family of money. I mean, everything, I took out a loan for my private pilot's license. And you're going to laugh at this, but back in 1975, I paid $600 for 60 hours of flight time, and that included an instructor.
That's not a bad price, Jive.
So but I had to take a loan out for it.
Yeah.
And so I did that and paid it off with mowing yards and things like that you do as a teenager. And that started me off. And then one of your groups that you're affiliated with, back then it was called Spartan School of Aeronautics.
Sure.
I graduated high school, and then off I went to Spartan and got a commercial instrument instrument flight instructor. And then I came back out into the world and started teaching. And, you learn a lot. And I tell everybody that's a flight instructor, I said, you're never going to be better than you are right now as a CFI. Even though you don't think you are, you think of it as a stepping stone, but the repetitive nature of the things that you tell your students every day and teaching it and demonstrating it, you are better now than you'll ever be as far as a fundamental teacher of aviation techniques. And I always encourage them. I said, if you're going to go off and do other things, at least keep a hand in being an instructor. Don't just dump all that experience. Stay with it because it keeps you sharp. It keeps you in the books, keeps you credible. Because, throwing a gear handle or flying every other leg in an airliner may sound glamorous. It's the most unglamorous existence in life. Trust me. And only when you get a lot of years with an airliner do you realize any kind of financial gain out of this. And you atrophy your skills so badly in that environment that you just have to have something else to maintain that proficiency and that sharpen that axe all the time. So that's really important. And I want to get that message out. Stay with teaching. The teachers are the best because they do it day in and day out. And they know what works. They know how to relate to people. They know how to give instruction to the point where they get a transference of learning to the student. And it's just so important when you find a good one. It's really good.
I love that. So you went to Spartan, got your license, you came out, you were doing some flight instructing. I'm curious your entry into the United States Air Force, and your commissioning source and how you ended on managed to pull F-15.
Yeah. So that is kind of, like I said, it wasn't like, I'm going to check this box, check this box, check this box. I'm just going to go fly. And I flight instructed for a couple of years, and then I got my 1,500 hours, built my time up. And then I got on with a freight company down in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, cool.
Flying Cessna 402s. And I was flying, feeder routes from New Orleans. I go to Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and back to Monroe, Louisiana.
That's cool.
Sit there for 4 hours. And they had a flight school up there. They had a lot of flight schools up there. But they also had a school up there called Northeast Louisiana University that had a program that gave credit for aviation. So I have a lot of time. I already had, working on my ATP, yada, yada. And through that school and my association with being there and seeing that and getting to know the school, I then took a job at one of the flight schools there, went to school, flew charters, and was able to get a whole year, 30 hours of credit for all the licenses I had. So with just a little bit of the college that I had, attained doing that, I went ahead and finished like in 2 years up there and got my degree. And so from flying the freight, then moving up to that school, the home base of that school, flying charters, and then I went into the military, and that was 1983.
83?
So, yeah, and I had 4,350 hours of flying time under my
Wow.
belt and an ATP before I ever went to the commissioning source of the military.
Did you go to Maxwell, Alabama?
Oh no, Maxwell was not the commissioning
No,
place then. It
I
was.
did OTS Maxwell.
I know. I did OTS at the Medina Annex of Lackland Air Force.
I think that's like the security forces training. You were at Medina?
I was at the Medina Annex. Yep, that's where OTS was.
Wow, I didn't realize that was over there. So then coming out of OTS, I know. So when I came out, I already had a slot in my community, which is separate from yours.
No, same. Well, yeah, I had a slot too before I ever went into the military. Before I ever went to Lackland, I had a pilot slot. So there was no doubt I was going to pilot training.
You didn't know your platform yet, though?
I didn't know the platform.
I'm curious what Jive Kerby put on his wish list for platforms back in the day. Back in 83, what did you want to fly? It must have been F-15, F-15, F-15.
It was not. When I went in, I wouldn't say I put it down paper on my dream sheet, but when I went in, I think the only reason I went in is because I wanted to fly airlines.
Really?
I wanted to fly airlines. So the airlines weren't hiring in the 83, the oil embargo and all that stuff. The hiring was way down. And so I said, okay, I'll go in and I'll fly a C5. That's the biggest thing the Air Force has.
That's my son, Ian. That's what he wants to fly when he grows up.
So I'll do that. And that'll be a good lead in for flying for airlines. Right. And I got in there and I go, this formation stuff's kind of fun. I kind of like that. So we get into T-38s and I really like the T-38. So we didn't have to fill out our dream sheet, man. It's a whole different way of pilot training now than it was back when I was going through. So we filled dream sheets out. And by that point I was hooked on fighters.
Okay.
And so F-15 was first choice.
Yes, sir.
F-16, then an F-4. F-4s are still a thing back then.
You said F-15, F-16, F-4?
Oh.
That's cool. So I was stationed in Niagara Falls before going to Syracuse. I was with the boys from Syracuse primarily, but I did do some flying for Niagara, and they had an F-4 and a popsicle stick. They used to always take pictures of it. That's an iconic airplane. And as I understand it now, you're still flying F-4.
I am. There's one civilian operated. It's not owned, still owned by the United States Air Force, but it's on loan to the Collins Foundation. Based out of Houston, Texas, Ellington Field. And I've been associated with that airplane since I retired from the military in 2005, because at the end of my career, I was flying QF-4s.
Really?
I was a squadron commander of the 82nd Aerial Target Squadron flying QF-4. And so when I retired, I checked out their D model because I was flying E's and G's. I checked out in the D model, which is a much different airplane. And I'm associated with it. So
that's awesome.
Just flew it last month.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. So now in your journey, so you've graduated OTS, you're commissioned, you got F-15 through school. Could you talk about fighter school, what that was like? And I'm curious now from your point of view with all your experience, right? You're clearly instructing is something that you're passionate about. I think you're probably one of the most experienced instructors in the world. You're train the trainer essentially. And I'm curious from your point of view, are there commonalities between Air Force pilots and civilian pilots now for the ones who are most successful? Like what separates really successful pilots from the ones who are less than?
Wow, that's such a broad-based question.
And the reason I ask you is because I think with your experience, the depth of understanding and empathy you'd have for the pilot would be different. I mean, you've commanded squadrons. You've likely been at the wing level too, so you know these pilots at a more personal level.
Well, if you want to relate it to that, I mean, the military, it's like you go down this road and you don't really veer off, right? You are immersed in the military way of life. I came into the military with all this broad aviation background already, with an ATP and all that. So I had a much more worldly view of flying in general. But when somebody comes off the streets and say, "Hey, we're gonna," back then they put them through training. They would had 0 hours and they put them in a 172 at, they called it Fish Pot. I was over close to in Texas at Hondo, Texas. They put them in that and they'd bring them up. So they knew nothing but military procedures, nothing about anything but military, right? And they go from there and then they go to pilot training and off they went. So they had a very stovepipe view of flying. They were taken care of, if
Sure.
you will. They weren't out on their own, early on in their life, out on their own, just flying to go make it happen. It's like, no, they've got somebody kind of guiding them all the time. So you adapt your training to that mindset, right? Where a civilian guy grows up, in this, hey, you're kind of on your own kind of mentality. And when you get out there with a student after that, you kind of create your own boundaries outside the regulations and things like that we all have to live under. But you create your own standard of how I want this student to be taught. Now, in a more organized school like Spartan or Blue Line or whatever, there's standards, obviously standards manuals that everybody follows through with. But back then there wasn't there. So there was a lot of different ways that you would see based on who was their instructor, right?
Sure.
The standardization, and we're going off on a tangent here, but the standardization then was so important. And it developed to what we have now. It creates a very prepared pilot.
Okay.
I think better than anything else. Then we can go talk about the 141 aspect of it, which I affectionately call puppy mills.
Puppy mills.
Well, because now I've got a guy that's coming to me as an applicant. He's got 135 total hours, and he's coming to me as a commercial applicant. He's
Sure.
almost back to where the military style was, where he's been guided along this thing. Where a Part 61, you got to have 250 hours. This guy's coming to me with 135 hours. He has been guided down this very narrow road of that school, and he comes to me. And if I give him a question, and as a DPE, if I give him a question on the test that he's trained for,
Sure.
he'll rip it off, and he will have the most perfect answer in the world. But if we go off the script a little bit and we get him outside something he's not been exposed to, that's where they struggle a little bit.
Really?
They can either adapt to what they've learned to do new, different type experience, or they just don't know where to go. So there's good things on it, and there's bad things on it.
What are some additional things you think those pilots can do to ensure that they don't? Because I could see how it would be easy to fall into that cycle, right? I've been there. So are there additional things you think these pilots can be doing on the side as well? Like, is it GA flying in addition to the structured school flying, or
well, I'm
more
talking
unusual?
to students now, the 130, no, it's all reps. You cannot substitute repetition.
Yeah.
Right. It's just getting out and going for it. I don't care what license you got. If you're not proficient, you're not proficient. And if you don't have the experience reps that those extra additional hours get you in the Part 61 requirements for a commercial license, you're just not going to have it until you have it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I mean, you can read all you want to, but unless you experience it, you can recall something in your brain and go, okay, that's what I need to recall. And that's how I need to adapt to the situation based on what I have in my toolkit.
Sure.
Toolkit's kind of empty when you come to me with the absolute minimum hours of a commercial license. Yeah, you got the ticket, bud. Okay, you did great. Okay. And you passed the ACS standard, which is what the schools are all about. And I'm not knocking Part 61 or Part 141 schools at all.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining the realities as a DPE. When I get a 61 applicant versus a 141 applicant, there could be some differences, and I know exactly where they're going to be.
Sure. That makes sense to me. I want to fast forward a little bit. So now in your life, you're performing a ton of air shows, right? You do air races. So your passion for performing, I assume you're passionate about it. You and your wife, it seems like family business. You both clearly love it. Did you know when you were coming up on your time in the Air Force, did you know that that was a move that you wanted to make? Was that a community you already knew and
No.
wanted to join, or what was that transition like? And how did you fall in love with that type of flying because you were an F-15 guy?
I don't. It's so hard to answer. There's not really a single thing. Like, again, nothing was black and white in my progression.
Sure.
It was like, I see, I see something that interests me, and I think it's a competition more than anything, as far as just specifically the air racing
Yes, sir.
was the competition of it. But I avoided it for years because I didn't know if it was, I didn't know the safety aspect of it. And I'd never even gone as a spectator
You said the
until
safety?
2018. Yeah, the safety was something I just didn't know about, because on the outside, looking at this from somebody that has never looked into it, they go, what are these guys doing flying around? Do they know each other? Do they train together? Are they just trying to pass each other? Are there rules?
Sure.
Because, and I go, I don't know enough about it. I'm just going to stay away from it, which is a wrong attitude, especially a guy like me. And so Lunar finally got me to Reno in 2018, and I started learning about it. And I saw the amount of dedication that each pilot puts in training, and all of the pilots train together. These are not people that just show up off the
Sure.
street and go, I'm on a race. No, this is a very much of a building block approach. There are steps that you have to take to even be able to show up and fly your airplane in a race. Qualification steps that you have to pass to be there. And no, so now I'm immediately peaked, right? Because that's who I am. You
Yeah.
know, you earn your way there. You show proficiency. You graduate. And you move on up. And I only want to be with the best of the best. That's all I want to fly with, in something like that. The absolute top pilots, because I was a military guy.
Yeah, right.
And I only flew with the best of the best, right? I mean, and weapons school grads are the top 1% of every weapons school. I was one of those guys.
Shout out Air Force Weapons School.
Yeah, fighter weapons school when I went through, right? So, I mean, just like driving down the road, nobody wants to be surrounded by idiots out there. And not to say every other pilot out there is an idiot. They're not, absolutely not.
Sure.
But you want to be surrounded by people you trust and that know the rules, and they're going to adhere to those rules. And that's what air racing is. That's the most trained activity out there. There's more trust involved with flying air racing than I think anything I've ever been involved with.
Sure.
Other than going to war and having my wingman, knowing I'm going to have a wingman there with me that I trust. And it's absolutely safe because of all the things that we go through.
So if somebody, maybe in their life and their career now, they're doing some flying, maybe they're with airlines, maybe just some GA stuff, maybe they're CFIing, right? But if they're curious about air races, right, they're in that spot you were, and they don't know, ignorant on the topic. Where would you recommend that they go to get educated on? Is it just talking to the pilots, or?
Well, I'd recommend they go to Roswell in September. Okay. Show up, the week of like the 14th, 15th September, all the way through the 20th. We're going to be out there running around the track. And Roswell is a great, great, great venue. Moved from Reno after 59 years, but we settled on Roswell, and it's been absolutely wonderful. It's a much, much safer environment out there. Many more options when things could go wrong with machines. Great environment. People there. The city wants us there. It's just an absolute wonderful place to be. And we're all happy we made the move. But come to the jet pits if you want to talk to me, and I will sit down with you for as long as you want and explain everything that's going on. And that's the way you get educated on it. And then going out and watching it, and going, hey, these guys really know what they do. I want to do that. And that was the realization I had. It was like, we were able to, through Lunar and friends of hers, get me out to like the start pylon at Reno and watching the guys come through and, rounding that first pylon. I'm going, wow.
You found your people.
I got to do this. I can do this. I got to be part of this.
Yeah.
And I was addicted. right off the bat.
What was your first race? Or I mean, did you start racing first or performing at air shows, or that kind of?
I was performing. Yeah, in 2005, 2004, 2005, when I was a commander of the 82nd Aerial Target Squadron in the F4s.
Wow.
I had the F4, obviously iconic airplane, the Air Force Heritage Flight, if you're familiar with that.
Yes, sir.
Here at Oshkosh, we've got the F-16 and the P-51 flew yesterday. There's many other variants of that. But I'll give credit to a senior master sergeant of mine that he said, boss, he said, we got to do corrosion control in these airplanes. They need paint jobs to keep the corrosion control down. He goes, why don't we paint them up in the liveries of the decades that they flew? Talking the Phantom, right? So before they had just kind of a gray paint job and they had orange tips on them, they were clearly drones, right?
Sure.
He goes, let's put them in the livery of it. And I go, that's a great idea. And so we were able to paint 6 airplanes in the decades, to commemorate. Some of them repeats, but to commemorate the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s of the decades that they flew. And very popular. They look great. They're all shiny. These are all low time airplanes. They're like 3,000 hours, like the high time airframe hours, right, on these airplanes. And then I was able to go take the airplane to Langley, position one of the airplanes we had painted up with Air Combat Command, and the general's name on the windowsill, the canopy,
Very cool.
And we knew he'd be walking by this sidewalk and be walking by the airplane.
Smart man.
And we did some politicking and say, hey, boss, we can have this in Heritage Flight. And it worked.
It worked.
And in so 2005, I went to the Heritage Flight conference out in Tucson with the Phantom. And 2005 was the first year that we flew the Phantom in the Heritage.
You flew the first one?
I flew the first 11 shows with it. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite airplane?
I get asked that all the time.
How many have you flown? Over 100, right? Models.
Yeah. I always tell people that my favorite airplane is the one I'm in at the time.
Sure. You're in some wild airplanes, though. These are not normal airplanes. What are you flying today in the show?
So I'm flying a T-28.
T-28?
Yeah. I'll fly the T-28 today, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I'll be at an F-5 Tiger II leading the 4 ship on Thursday and Friday.
Thursday, Friday? That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you still get just as excited now to perform as when you started?
I think I do. I mean, the depth of knowledge of what I want to do and the uncertainty of the maneuvers and how they're going to look, I think is probably a little bit less, but I still get butterflies every time I walk out.
Do you chair fly at night? Like, how does Jive Kerby prepare for flights?
Well, we always try to walk it through in our head. We'll physically walk it, out there on the drive, on the grass or whatever, and go through the maneuvers. And then there's a lot. We always try to give ourselves 30 minutes, before where we're uninterrupted.
Sure.
Go in the dark room, close our eyes, or just sit in the car with the air conditioner on and visualize their performance.
Yeah.
Try to be as prepared as we can. And I think you want to talk about an overall theme of how I've done everything.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's more of just being prepared.
You like to be prepared.
Never walking into something that with an unknown aspect of it. You've always prepared in some way to where you know what's going to happen. It's the only way. I see not as good a preparedness in some of the DPE work that I do. It's really, really frustrating.
Okay.
That the knowledge is there. Check rides are easy if you prepare for them. There's always a bit of nervousness involved with it. But if you take a check ride with me, you're going to be absolutely not nervous after the first 5 minutes of talking to me. I'm gonna set you at ease, because if I can't set you at ease as an applicant, I'm not going to get the best out of you.
Sure.
You still got to answer. You still got to perform.
Sure.
But I don't want the nervousness of the check ride to be the overshadowing piece that you have to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
But prepare. Prepare, study, and then study some more and do mock ground eval with people, you know, the flying is generally not the hardest part. It's the ground eval that some guys just can't quite get through. Yeah, I mean, there's flying and the landings are, the landings probably are the biggest failure item, I think, for most,
Oh, really?
most commercial and most commercial applicants. Yeah.
Have you ever received any advice in your career that maybe changed how you do anything? I mean, I'm just thinking through the common theme about your life in aviation seems to be you've been ultra prepared and dedicated. It seems like once you know you want to do something, you got your private pilot's license on your birthday. You were flying, hitting checkpoints on the day you were eligible to do that from a very young age. Is that just how you were brought up, how you were? Did you get any advice along the way that set you up for that? Because I mean, that's perfect for a career in aviation, especially for where you are now.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know. I think it's just the way I was raised. My dad and mom, just do your best all the time. And I was blessed with, I guess, the brains to be able to study well and the drive to make it happen.
Did when you were in school, speaking of studying, and we didn't go to the same schools. I recognize that yours is, different. But I always felt like I was studying twice as hard for the same grade. But I also wondered if everyone secretly felt the same way. And I'm curious, did you feel like, I mean, you graduated top of your class. Did you feel that it came naturally to you or I mean, I'm sure you spent hours and hours every day studying, but how
Yeah.
did that feel for you going
Yeah.
through?
No, I feel like I clawed my way up.
Really?
Oh yeah. Every day. It was all a struggle. It was never easy.
How did
Never
you get
easy.
through those hard days? We have a lot of listeners who are going through flight school now. Maybe they just hooked their first stand up. Maybe they hooked a ride, or maybe they're really struggling with landings, right? But if doubt's starting to creep in, is there any advice you would give those pilots?
You're going to reach a breaking point where you go, I just can't absorb anymore. And so many people don't take the time to take a break a day.
Sure.
Take a break and don't think about it. Go do one thing that relaxes you. Don't think about it. And then come back in with a renewed focus. That helped me sometimes. It's the hardest thing to do is to walk away from it,
Sure.
but you got to force yourself to do it, and go laugh. And I'm not talking about go party. I'm not talking about that at all. Go find some place that makes you happy, right? And then reevaluate what was really important here,
I like that.
right? And then come back in and go, okay, let's get to the root cause of what happened. If you're struggling with like a busted check ride or whatever, what happened? What is the primary thing I need to do to work on to fix that root cause of the problem and work on that? Um, you just can't broad brush through everything. You've got to figure it out. You know, that's, but that's kind of in life too. It's just, these are life lessons more than just flying lessons because you can apply that same kind of a logic to anything that you're doing. Get a clear head, go in it, and then whatever you're doing, be the best you can be in that moment. I see, like, there's a direct correlation to, I'm just going to be a CFI to build time so I can go to the airlines, or I can build time to get a corporate job, or build time to go to the Air Force. Okay, great. That's no problem with that. I don't want to hear about what your future plans are whenever you're instructing me.
Right.
I want to
Right.
hear what we're going to talk about. I want you to be the best instructor you can be. Give all your focus to the guy that's there paying you money to be there to give him instruction. You're
Trusting
a
you.
professional. Be a professional and be in the moment and stay in the moment with that person. We've all been there with some instructor that kind of halfway it through it, giving us instruction. Always had a phone call to take, or always had something else he was like checking on and not giving us his sole attention. That's disrespectful. It lacks professionalism, and it's just poor way to conduct yourself. So do the best you can in the moment all the time. Don't matter what it is. Maybe the worst job that somebody on the outside could look at, oh, that's a really crappy job. I don't care. That's my job, and I'm going to do it the best of my ability until it's done. And then I'll move on to the next thing if that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Are the pilots you perform with pretty similar too? Real determined, focused, want to be the best at what they're doing in the moment?
The good ones are.
Yeah.
The ones I associate myself with are.
I believe it.
Absolutely. You don't surround yourself with people that you don't want to. You surround yourself with people like yourself.
Yes, sir.
Excellence attracts excellence.
Yes, sir.
Don't lower your standards because you want to be with the in crowd. You have a standard. Let the in crowd come to you. You are the in crowd. That's what people don't realize. They look at something else that's shiny over there. The grass is always greener. No, it's within you. That's where the green grass is within you and what you're doing every day. Who cares about other people? They're always looking at you too. Even though you don't think they are, they're looking at you. Set the standard. Be excellent. You will attract excellence in your life.
I like that, Jive. What hobbies outside of aviation do? If you had to step away for a day now, what activity are you doing?
Now,
Flying airplanes.
flying airplanes.
I like that. I like that.
It's really tough. I mean, we've got a pretty very nice life, but we live on our own airport too. So
Oh, really?
It's really hard.
You got the whole lot. Your wife's absolutely lovely. She's so nice, so passionate
She
about
is
aviation. You apparently live on your own airport. That's cool.
We do. Yeah.
Do you have what do you have for airplanes at your house?
So I have the T-28 that I'm going to fly today.
Incredible to
It's
have
called-
at your house.
His name is, we name everything we have, right? So that airplane's name is Mad Dog.
Okay.
We have an RV-8A called Wild Blue. And that's kind of that's my everyday airplane. That's what I fly to work in. If I'm going to go get a check ride, I'll take off and fly to work in the RV-8.
Wild Blue.
And up until very recently, I had the L-39. We call him Ivan.
I watched videos of Ivan yesterday.
So we had him there. We just moved him away to a little bit longer airfield with better maintenance support and things like that. But there's other airplanes in our future. We just don't know what they are yet.
Maybe we just interviewed our friend Matt from California Aeronautical University yesterday. He just picked up a DC-3.
Well, okay.
So we're excited to go check that out.
Just picked up a DC-3. Yeah.
Just casually met. I was texting. I was like, "Hey, Matt, I'd love to have you on the podcast. See what's new." He's like, "Yeah, I'm driving into Oshkosh." I was like, "What's new, brother?" He's like, not much. Picked up a DC-3 if you want to check it out." Yeah, I think I can make some time for that. Actually, is there if you could fly any platform now, is there anything in existence that you want to fly that you have not flown yet? I assume all the airplanes, but if you had to pick one, maybe something nostalgic that you haven't flown in a while.
A Boeing 747.
747?
That was the queen of the skies. Because I was a JetBlue guy for a while.
How long were you with JetBlue?
It's 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't love it?
I didn't love it. I did it. I always thought I wanted to do that. I did it. And I checked the box and I go, yeah, not for me.
A lot of the pilots that we interview and even, our audience who watch our content, who use our products and everything, it seems, and you would know better than anyone in the world likely, but it seems like the most common goal in aviation is to get to a major airline, right? It seems like what everyone's gunning at all the shows. It's what people talk about. There's countless pieces of content online on how to get there, right? But you're somebody with such a unique, diverse experience, right? And you've done that. And you found another route that maybe fit a little bit better. So I guess, is there any advice or anything you would say to those pilots who love aviation and love flying, they love airplanes, and maybe just the default goal was the airlines, right? But maybe they're overlooking performing, ferry pilots, crop dusters, there's so many different cool things that you can do.
Yeah. So I think versus just saying airline pilot is what I want to do, I would say that find something in your life that challenges you mentally. And in aviation, some people would say after they've done it a while that airline flying is a little bit repetitive. It's actually a lot repetitive. That where you are not challenged every day in things that, that in aviation. That's why I say, Steve, keep your hand in instructing. Go do air racing. Go get involved with the CAF, with the warbirds.
Sure.
Find something else other than flying the big airliner, across the country or to Europe or other places of the world. That keeps you motivated and stimulated.
Sure.
Right, thinking. Because just like in what I talked about in the military, you're running down this road of this is the way we do things. I think, in my opinion, airlines are exactly the same way. Airlines have a way of doing things, and outside of that, I don't know. Let me get back to you. Right, you're not on your own in the airline world. You are very much guided by standards, by manuals,
Sure.
by procedures. Right. I'm not saying you're told what to think, but there's less free thinking there than it is like, okay, here's the keys, bud, go do what you want. I think that stimulation is required,
Yeah.
right, to be the best you can be in aviation. Otherwise, you get stagnant.
Sure.
You atrophy your skills, right? And I think you need to stay. And this is me, because I'm always striving to be the best. I'm
Sure.
always striving for more. What's next? But I don't force anything to happen. It always just comes to me after a while.
Can you, how prepared, right? The theme is being prepared. Can you think of a time, any sortie, any performance or anything, where something didn't go as planned, where your training and you being so prepared saved it? Maybe like an engine out and you had a perfect divert field or something, EPs, but just to emphasize the importance of training and being prepared.
I think, you can go through the specifics of an emergency procedure or whatever, but the biggest thing that has to happen when an emergency happens is you have to flip the switch and go, I have a problem and I have to deal with it. I have an oil pressure that's low. I have an oil temperature that's high on, a 172 or a Piper Archer. Do I really have a problem? I don't know. We bang on the gauge.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really have an issue? And you're not going to deal with it until you go, boom, I have an issue. I'm going to handle the issue and make it happen. Now you can make that into something much more complex, an engine fire, an engine failure, things like that, where it's more immediate there, but it's that initial recognition of, okay, is it or is it not? And it usually is.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I usually say to people, and we learned this in fighter weapons school too, which is actually one of the thing that's written everywhere, is that if there's doubt, there's no doubt.
Yeah. Okay.
If there's a doubt, there could be an issue with this airplane or engine or whatever, then there's no doubt there is a problem and you need to fix it. If there's a doubt about whether I should go fly, the weather's not good or whatever, then you need to go resolve that doubt before you go. Or there's no doubt we're not going.
Right.
So make a decision and stick with the decision. So you can apply that to any situation in airplanes, when things are not going perfect. If there's doubt, there's no doubt. And then make a decision and then deal with the issue. Fly the airplane. Make the appropriate action. Talk to people, after. Third thing on the list.
Aviate, navigate, communicate.
That's right. Right? That's the biggest thing. Well, so, I've had engine failure in an F-15. Yeah, engine failed. I got to deal with it. Okay, come on back and land, right? Engine failure. I've not had an engine failure, knock on wood, not an engine failure that, forced me to land somewhere off field, right? But if I did, you go, no, boom, that engine's not good. I'm going into a emergency descent. I'm going into an emergency landing mentality that allows me to apply the procedures. When guys go halfway, is it?
You're,
I don't know.
you're
Is
switching
it?
gears,
No. Why would you? I've got 5,000 feet and this happens. Why would I want to, drop down lower altitude to fix something when I'm going to preserve all that energy up high for an emergency landing when I've got an engine problem?
Yeah.
Just silly decisions like that you would go, but yeah, but it's flipping the switch and go, you deal with it or not. Is there doubt? Then there's no doubt.
I like that.
And the last thing is complacency. Because the more we fly, 99% of our flying is repetitive. 99% of our flying is like, same thing. I could do this with my eyes closed, right? And you get complacent. And you go, I had this we made it through fine. We'll be okay. I had that oil pressure a little low last time. We'll be fine. I had that oil temperature reading high last time. It'll be fine. We made it just fine last time. You get complacent on the realities of what could actually happen. And you don't let yourself flip the switch, right? And you don't prepare as well as you should for a flight. You don't go through an extensive weather briefing because you know what? It's going to be good. It's always been good. The complacency is a huge killer.
Are you still OODA looping?
Yes, of course. I don't know if I call it OODA, but absolutely. I think Leonard told me this a long time ago, you got to play the movie all the way through the credit.
I like that.
You got to play the movie all the way through till the credits roll. You can't stop halfway. You got to do the whole thing.
I like that. She's sharp. What about favorite? Do you have a favorite pilot stereotype in the aviation world? There's so many, right? There's military pilot stereotypes. There's specifically fighter pilot stereotypes.
Oh, I hate that.
There's airline pilot stereotypes. I don't know that I've met enough performers, jet racers to know their stereotypes, but you've seen it all. You know them all. You've done it all. Do you have a favorite pilot stereotype?
I don't think I could do, if I said something and somebody saw the podcast, they go, he's talking about me.
Yeah.
I can't believe he talked about me on the podcast. I'd be
stoked if you showed me out on
the podcast. I'm not. They all have, everybody's unique. Everybody has their way. God put them on this earth to be who they are. And I think we all should celebrate who they are. Being a stereotype or whatever. There's the gadget man. There's the cocky guy. God love you, man.
Love it.
I know who you are.
I have two quick questions that I want to know. Is there, with all your flying, is there like one special flight that you remember, something that just felt really special, like a Finney flight, or maybe your first solo when you're 16? Is there just one anchor moment that you think about when you think about why you love being a pilot? Just one flight?
Oh no, there's not one. No, but I remember my first solo. I remember my first F-15 solo. I remember very clearly my first A4 flight was because there was no two-seaters. It was a solo. And I remember because Dale Snodgrass was my instructor, and it was all ground-based. And I remember I took off and I got the gear up and the flaps up, and I made a radio call to him, and I go, Snort, I got the airplane airborne. I sure hope I can get it back on the ground. He goes, you'll do fine.
You'll be great.
And I was. So I remember that very clear. There's a lot of memories that are etched into my brain. I'll never forget them. But no, every day is special. Every day in the air is even more special. And I'm just blessed to be a part of it. I'm blessed with opportunities, but I think you create opportunities by being willing to expose yourself. People get comfortable in life and don't expose themselves, and that's where they're going to be forever. So yeah, you might get hurt. You might be a little bit vulnerable while you're doing it, but exposing yourself to new opportunities and trying new things, that's who we are. That's what you should be keeping.
Where you find all the good stuff.
Sorry?
All right, sir. I really am honored to have you on, and I was so excited to speak with you. I feel so fortunate. I bumped into Luna yesterday at the hotel and saw your flight suits. I'm even more excited to watch you perform today, sir. And just thank you for your service. And I'm excited to watch you perform later. I wanted to give you this.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate that. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.